Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. I'd like to
Hare
welcome
Krishna,
Manish
Prabhuji.
Kumar back to US
Thank you Prabhuji.
and to our call. Okay, so we will read Srimad Bhagavatam. Anybody else is there?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
All right, so we'll read a few verses. Little late. Sarashanam udyamya mrigayurvanagochara hantya sadhur mrigandinan venu saviti arauchanaha. So Anga's son was not well behaved and he was a tyrant, basically a rogue, a thief. And the reason given was that his mother was not very saintly. So Prabhupada says the son acquires the qualities of the mother, and because of that he was not very. But that was a good thing for King Anga because he became frustrated and he left home and he went to the forest for spiritual advancement. So he, although it was a material setback, but in the terms of his son not being very good, but it helped him in his spiritual advancement. And we were discussing how Prabhupada also had material setbacks in his business and everything. And that's the reason why he left his home and then he came to the point of, taking sannyas, and then he spread the Krishna consciousness all over the world. And so many people got benefited. So sometimes material distress actually drives us towards Krishna, to take shelter of Krishna more strongly. So Kunti Devi says, yes, give me distress so that I can remember you very nicely, because in distress it's easy to remember Krishna. Not for everybody, but at least for those pious souls. Chaturvida bhajante mam jana sukriti na Arjuna. Arto jigyasu artharthi jnanishya bharatar or sukriti. Then they will in their distress approach Krishna. Or God. Of course, distress can also drive away one, because sometimes the conception is that I am doing devotional service, how can this distress come upon me? So God is not taking care. Like in Chitraketu Maharaj's history, the wife was blaming the Supreme Lord. You are such cruel, how can providence be so cruel that in presence of the parents the son has departed? So you don't know kindness and like that. So of course later on, Narad Muni came in. But sometimes distress can also make us go away when our faith is weak also. But Krishna never says that if you take to bhakti, then there'll be, of course, if you really become pure devotee, then there'll be no distress. Because distress and happiness are pursued by the mind. So a favorable material situation is perceived as happiness by the mind, and not favorable situation is perceived as unhappiness by the mind. But if the mind is absorbed in Krishna and Krishna's wisdom, then you know the bigger picture. Then you are not distressed. So that is there also. But that's at a very high level of spiritual advancement. That one will not be disturbed even in the midst of distress. Okay. Sarashanam ud. Okay, we read that. After fixing his bow and arrow, so he is describing, this verse is describing the characteristics of the son of King Anga, Vena. What would he do? After fixing his bow and arrow, the cruel boy used to go to the forest and unnecessarily kill innocent deer. And as soon as he came, all the people would cry, "Here comes cruel Vena! Here comes cruel Vena!" Kshatriyas are allowed to hunt in the forest for the purpose of learning the killing art, not to kill animals for eating or for any other purpose. The Kshatriya kings were sometimes expected to cut off the head of a culprit in the state. For this reason, Kshatriyas were allowed to hunt in the forest so that they can be, when there is a war and they have to fight, they'll chop off the head of the enemy. It's very difficult to do that if you're not used to killing. So, to keep their skill sharp is one reason, and to face, to see blood and all these things. Because Kshatriyas have to fight, so they have to see all these things. So, in the forest with the animals, they would battle. And also to get rid of wild animals because sages are in the forest. Of course, that may upset the ecological balance. I don't know how it works, but like there's a whole food chain, they say all these things, but they will kill the wild animals and keep the forest safe for the sages to meditate. So the Kshatriya kings were sometimes expected to cut off the head of a culprit in the state. For this reason, the Kshatriyas were allowed to hunt in the forest. Because this son of King Anga, Vena, was born of a bad mother, he was very cruel and he used to go to the forest and unnecessarily kill the animals. Like we have Mrigari, right? He would kill the animals half dead and then he would take pleasure in seeing the animals writhing in pain, struggling, and that sadistic mentality where one feels pleasure on giving pain to others. So he was like that. All the neighboring inhabitants would be frightened by his presence and they would call, "Here comes Vena, here comes Vena." So from the beginning of his life, he was fearful to the citizens. So everybody likes a kind-hearted person, right? Somebody who is very kind. Nobody likes to deal with a cruel person. So Krishna is like, right, both kind and at the same time he's externally very beautiful, but he's very kind at heart also. So that's the combination which attracted Shukdev Goswami. Yeah, they described his beauty and also how he delivered Putana. So these two verses. So kind-hearted is not a source of dread for others. People don't feel like terrified in their presence. They feel very blissful and peaceful. So everybody wants to be in company of such persons. So not those who terrorize and like that, like Hitler. So King Vena was like that. So he was very fearful to the citizens. Like Jagai Madai also. Nobody would go near them because they were terrorists. So the boy was so cruel that while playing with young boys of his age, he would kill them very mercilessly. It's like your child is playing with Vena and then Vena would kill your child. Vena is also a child. So, and one child will kill another child. So then how would the parents feel? He would kill them mercilessly. They're just playing. In the playing, there can be some disagreement, some quarrel. But he would kill them as if they were animals meant for slaughter. So, after seeing the cruel and merciless behavior of his son, Vena, King Anga, punished him in different ways to reform him, but was unable to bring him to the path of gentleness. He thus became greatly aggrieved. His father tried to bring him to the right path, but Vena was not to be. Just like Jada Bharat also. Of course, he is a great devotee and self-realized person. They also tried to teach him. But Jada Bharat was purposely not, deliberately he appeared like a fool. because he didn't want to get entangled, because people would praise him or something will happen, and then he just wanted to focus on Krishna. So, because last life he had goofed up with the deer, so this life he was very, very cautious. He was remembering all these things, how he got another birth instead as Bharat. I mean, two lifetimes back, yeah. As Bharat, he had goofed up, so he was very, very cautious. And his father would teach him. Anyway, here he's trying to teach him good things. He's a bad person and he's not listening. The king thought to himself, persons who have no son are certainly fortunate. It's better to not have a son than to have a bad son, he was thinking. They must have worshipped the Lord in their previous lives, so they would not have to suffer the unbearable happiness caused by a bad son. So, those people who don't have son, they are so fortunate. They don't have to deal with what I am dealing with. It happens like that, right? In marriage or anything. You get some misery, then you thought, oh my God, I should have just. Those who have not gotten into this, they are so happy. Okay, so a sinful son causes a person's reputation to vanish. His irreligious activities at home cause irreligion and quarrel among everyone. And this creates only endless anxiety. It is said that a married couple must have a son, otherwise their family life is void. But a son born without good qualities is as good as a blind eye. A blind eye has no use for seeing, but it is simply unbearably painful. The king therefore thought himself very fortunate to have such a bad son. Unfortunate to have such a bad son. So, yeah. So sometimes you don't know how the children will turn out, and they may turn out this way, that way. Everything is like that. We don't know what future brings in. We do everything thinking that the future will be very pleasant, but it may not turn out like that. So, any comments, anybody else?
But for a devotee, he would understand that this is part of my karma, right? Somebody is giving me this unhappiness. And so he's returning the karma that is due to me, right?
Yeah, but then we make choices also. Like King Anga thought, "Arey, I should not have had a son. This son is so bad." But of course, you can say, yeah, it was his karma to have such a son. But he was thinking, I made a bad choice if like that. So,
Yeah, I think the sages told him, you have not performed any sins in this life, but in previous
previous
life.
life. Correct. But that's why they told him to get a son and to
Oh, that was when he had no son. Yeah.
when he had no son. Yeah, but then the son came, but that son was also not very good. So, yeah, it's sometimes our karma is also made up by our choices, either in this life or past life. And so we, of course, first of all, we made a wrong choice in coming to this material world. So we have to go through this struggle. And so we say between birth and death there is C. Between B and D there is C. So there are choices we have to make. And those choices, we don't know how they will turn out. Sometimes we are influenced by the modes of nature in a certain way, and we make choices because we are under the influence of the modes of material nature. So, to make the right choices and everything, we have to be above the, modes of nature, because, like as Krishna says, we are pushed, as Arjuna says, we are pushed by the modes to act in certain ways and to make certain choices and like that. So we have to take shelter of Krishna. Mam chayo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. Otherwise, those vrittis are not easy to overcome. Everybody has a vritti and a swabhav which we inherit from our past lives and so many different. That swabha will not change. Swabha means one's nature, and that we have inherited from our conditionings in this life and the past life. Very difficult to change that conditioning. That's why Parikshit Maharaj is telling Shukdev Goswami, or maybe Shukdev Goswami tells Parikshit Maharaj that those who have taken Agam Dhunvanti Karsnena Niharamiva Bhaskara, what is that verse? How does it start?
Nishchit kevalya
Kechit
bhakti.
Kevalya Bhakta Vasudeva Parayana. Yeah. He says, yeah, even if we repent, the things will not change unless you take shelter of devotional. So that's like elephants taking a bath. So sometimes, yeah, so how will that change? Only when we take shelter of devotional service. Like we see, like when Prabhupada came, many people were taking drugs, LSD. It's very difficult to wean off these drugs. Once you get addicted to these drugs, it's so difficult to give them up because you become habituated. But somehow this miracle happened, which Prabhupada himself said, this is a miracle. These people were addicted to all these things and they gave it up. So that's how mercy of the pure devotee and Krishna works. That things impossible will become possible. Dushkuram sukaram bhavet. What is very difficult to accomplish or give up, which is not good, will become easy. So if we take shelter of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Okay, so who if he is considered an intelligent, who desires such a worthless son? Such a son is nothing but a bond of illusion for the living entity, and he makes one's home miserable. So these are all thoughts. Of course, in one way it is good for him because he's going to just leave everything. Spiritually, maybe it's good. He's just going to focus on God. So, had that incident not happened, like in our lives also, if distressful situations would not have come, then probably we would not have taken up Krishna consciousness. I was speaking to some devotee and they said, yes, we came Krishna consciousness. I started chanting and everything because of some distressful situation. I was already like devotee, going to temple, but all this chanting and all this is because of the stress and the distressful situation. The devotee was saying like that. So I was religious, but I did not take it very method, like the way Prabhupada, how it's a part of our life. So that's how distress can help. Okay. Actually, devotees are afraid, like Kunti Devi is afraid that if she gets too much happiness, then she will get carried away by the material happiness and she'll forget God. So she's saying, what is it? Tatra Tatra Jagat Guru Apunar Bhava Darshanam. How does it start? Vipadatus Sashvat Tatra Tatra Jagat
Vipada shantuta shashvat tatra tatra jagadguru. Bhavato darshanam yat syad apunarbhava darshanam.
So if you are afraid of this material existence, then we will take shelter of Krishna. Just like when there is a tornado and people say, now you should go in the shelter area because you are afraid this tornado may rip us apart, right? The building, and so we should go into some safe shelter. If you're not afraid, then you don't take shelter. If you are afraid of material existence, like in the pastime of Devaki, Devaki is afraid of Kansa. This Kansa represents the material existence. So she's afraid. And because of that fear, the Shad Garbhas are destroyed. The Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, and then Bhakti. Devaki represents Bhakti, and Krishna is born in the womb. Or Devaki represents the Bhakta, and Kansa represents the materialistic consciousness. So
Yeah, we should understand that we are in the mouth of the crocodile.
Uh,
Every day that is passing, it's taking us closer to our death.
yeah.
And that we already have a disease, which is this material body is already a disease condition. And that too, we can see miseries of other people and
Yeah.
learn by them, not that we have to go through calamities.
Like, when we have seen our parents become sick, so what we can see, one day I will be in that situation, right? We go into the hospital and we see so many people there. One day maybe I'll be in that situation. Who knows how the situation will change? When people are healthy, they never expect that in 10 years situation will be like this. So we can never say. We may be moving about very healthily now, but after 10 years, 15 years, what the situation will come about, we don't know.
Or after a day, we don't know. Every
After a
day
day
is
also.
new. How karma suddenly changes.
Yeah, so we should be very afraid of this material existence, so that it helps us to take shelter of Krishna. So that's why Prabhupada says, yeah, the more you think about this material existence and the problems in this, what one goes through birth to death, as Krishna also says, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadi Dukkha Dosha Darshanam. Unless one is pessimistic of the material existence, considering the miseries of birth, death, old age, and disease, there is no impetus for spiritual advancement. So ultimately, sometimes we accept our faith and we say, oh, we can't change it. This is how it is. No, you can change. You can go back home, back to Godhead, and you become Krishna conscious. You can solve the problems. It is not that there may be problems, that those problems may not go away in this life, like death is going to come to all of us. But after this life, there is no. So therefore, that you have to accept that I am not the body, I am the soul, and there will be a life after this. So, so like that, we have to have the bigger picture, and we have to believe in it that I am a soul. Just thinking about this, right? That we are the soul. How many lifetimes I've been this in this material world, in so many situations, sometimes very, very horrible situations. So, like that, if you think, contemplate on this fact that I'm eternal and I've gone through so many different situations of difficulties, very, very difficult situations. So now I've come again to the human form of life, and it's a chance to connect with Krishna. So then we'll be take it seriously like that. Like when you are careful, when you feel it's very important. Jada Bharat thought this is very important. Self realization is very, very important. So I'll focus on this. Because life is going to come to an end. So no matter what you do, it's even if you have a materially very nice situation, it can end any time. And even if it lasts for some time, let's say 10, 20 years, that's nothing, 20, 25 years. It will come to an end. How will the end come and all this? And we have to give up this situation. So why should I invest all my energies in trying to this is the effect of Maya. So if we can, and I am also under this influence. So why not just, that's why Prabhupada said, like, give this life to Krishna. Why you are thinking so much about this and that? Anyway, it's going to come to an end. When it will come to an end, we don't know, but it is going to come to an end. Why are you trying to invest in a situation that's not going to last? Instead, invest in Krishna consciousness. So like that, Prabhupada would say, Tasyeva heto prayateta ko vido न लभ्यते यद भ्रमताम उपरि यदा तल्लभ्यते दुखवाद अन्यथा सुखम काले न सर्वत्र कबीर रघुसा. This is Bhagavatam says, yes, you've been wandering in this up and down in this material world. Try for something which you didn't get in other forms of life, and that is Krishna consciousness. Because happiness and distress will come, just as nobody tries for distress, but distress comes, the happiness will also come. So don't try to adjust too much on this path. Okay. The king began to think in terms of attachment and detachment from one's material home. According to Prahlad Maharaj, the material home is compared to a blind well. If a man falls down into a blind well, it is very difficult to get out of it and begin life again. So that's what Prahlad told his father, right? What is the verse? Tatsadhu manye suravarya dehinam sada samudvigna dhiyam asakrahat hitvatmapatam
Grihand vanam gato yadharim
vanam gato yadharim ashrayet. Yes. So Prahlad Maharaj advised that one should give up the blind well of home life and as soon as possible and go to the forest to take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. According to Vedic civilization, this giving up of home by vanaprastha and sannyas is compulsory. But people are so attached to their homes that even up to the point of death, they do not like to retire from home life. King Ganga, therefore, thinking in terms of detachment, accepted his bad son as a good impetus for detachment from home life. He therefore considered his bad son his friend, since he was helping him become detached from his home. One side he was like cursing that, this bad son, what. Another side, internally, he was thinking, this is a blessing for me. Ultimately, one has to learn how to detach oneself from attachment to material life. Therefore, if a bad son, by his bad behavior, helps a householder to go away from home, it is a boon. Prabhupada writes all this is Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yogam Shikshartham Eka Purusha Purana Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shariradhari Kripam Buddhir Yastam Ham Prapadye. So, of course, it's not like we have to go to the forest or anything, but as life goes on, our focus on Krishna, absorption in Krishna, chanting of the holy name, the service of Krishna, preaching Krishna consciousness, all this should increase more and more. And other things should be like put aside. Because till the very fag end of life, there'll be something or other, going on. And we'll be trying to adjust the situation. But ideally, if consider life 100 years, at 50 your children are grown up and you are done with your duties. Now it's time to focus on spiritual life. So, of course, you are supposed to also make your children Krishna conscious. So, but that is how, because death is coming closer and your son and family and nobody can save you. So now you have to remember Krishna more and more. So, so you be proactive. Prabhupada says here that even up to the point of death, if we don't prepare, like we just remain in this thing, then we'll not be able to remember Krishna. So we start preparing, knowing that it is coming. Like some exam is coming, so many days before you start preparing. Because it's the exam is coming. So, and of course we don't know when this exam will come suddenly. So every day, it can be today, the exam can be today, it can be tomorrow, we don't know when it is. So there is no finite date or fixed date for the exam. So one should prepare one's consciousness like that for the ultimate departure. Like they say now, the plane is ready to depart. Everybody's in their seats with their belts tied and everything. So it's ready for departure. Yeah, so comments? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you read the translation of the previous verse. He's saying that a bad sin is better than a good sin. Did you read that?
Yeah, I didn't read that.
Okay.
No, I'm not moving. This is, this one. Yeah,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
I didn't read maybe. Then the
No.
king thought, yeah, go ahead.
Prabhuji, why is son taken as an example in here? Why not a daughter?
Yeah, I
What's the
would
logic
say.
there? They're just trying to. I
No,
mean,
no, that's a
the
good
thought came.
question. Good
Mhm.
question. Yeah. Why son, not daughter?
We are
Um,
talking about this pastime, and he has a son, right? If
son,
he had
yeah.
a bad daughter, then these verses would talk about the daughter.
Hmm.
Like Diti was bad, right? And her sons were Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksh. In that pastime, it's talked about how she was in a bad consciousness that led to demoniac sons. So just it depends on the pastime.
Yeah. So the king thought a bad son is better than a good son because I'm just reading the translation. The king thought a bad son is better than a good son because a good son creates an attachment for home, whereas a bad son does not. A bad son creates a hellish home from which an intelligent man naturally becomes very easily detached. Yeah, I think I didn't read the translation. Somehow I missed.
Well, early on, he was saying that, oh, such an unfortunate situation, I have a bad son. But now his views have changed, right? This is what Krishna consciousness actually is a wonderful situation. A bad son is better than a good son because otherwise, if everything is good, then I'll be attached to that situation. I will not become Krishna conscious.
So, yeah. Of course, if you have a good son who is a devotee and like that, still it is mentioned like that one should focus more on Krishna and towards the end of his life. Like we have the example of Kardamuni and
Kapil.
Kapila Dev. Yeah, so means we may not go to the forest or anything like that, but we have to concentrate more on service and like that, full more and more like think of Krishna more, and of course your family may be devoted. That's very nice if it happens like that.
21 generations are liberated. One son being one child being a pure devotee.
Right. Yeah. So, but Krishna has different situations for different uh, people so that they can come closer to him also. So yeah. Okay. So the next verse. Evam sanirvinna manonripo grihan nishita uthaya mahodayodayat alabdha nidro nupalakshito nirbhir hitva gato venusvam prasuptam. Thinking like that, King Anga could not sleep at night. What was he thinking? A bad son is better than a good son. Yeah, he was thinking that, yeah, this is good, that um, a bad son creates a hellish home from which an intelligent man naturally becomes very easily detached. A bad son is better than a good son because a good son creates an attachment for a home, whereas a bad son does not. So he was thinking like the positive in this, having a bad son. So he was not able to sleep at night. He became completely indifferent to household life. Once, therefore, in the dead of night, he got up from the bed and left Vena's mother, Sunita. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Yeah, child's mother, Sunita. So he left Sunita, his wife, in the middle of the night. Who was sleeping deeply. He gave up all attraction for his greatly opulent kingdom, and unseen by anyone, he very silently gave up his home and opulence and proceeded towards the forest. Like Dhritarashtra also, when he was Vidura preached to him very strongly. Then he just left. When Yudhishthir Maharaj woke up and he saw that, oh, where is Dhritarashtra? He just left. Even Vishwaroop also left in the middle of the night without telling anybody. The elder brother of
And Krishnadas Kaviraj also.
Krishnadas Kaviraj also, he just left when he had called this brother who had faith in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, not in Nityananda Prabhu. He just left in them. So that is the transcending. Prabhu was talking about transforming and transcending Chaitanya Charan Prabhu. So they just transcended the situation. So sometimes I was with Rasik Krishna Prabhu. He was saying that You have to pick your battles. To pick your battles, because you don't fight a battle in which your purpose of life will not be fulfilled, and you have to deal with trying to improve the situation. Like Prabhupada in Jhansi, right? They told him, yeah, he just said okay. Other times in Bombay, right, he was fighting the battle. When those who don't know, there was a lot of opposition to Prabhupada's building a temple in Bombay, in Juhu, very beautiful temple, amazing temple, which was built. But Prabhupada, so Krishna will give also, when to try to change the situation, when just to give up the situation, when you have service attitude. That's what he was saying. And then we have to take guidance also from others. In this verse, the word Mahodaya, Mahodayodayat indicates that by blessings of great soul, one becomes materially opulent. Like Kurma Brahmana, he also wanted to leave because he was very troubled by household life. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, no, you stay here, chant Hare Krishna and preach Yare Dekho Tare Kaho Krishna Updesh. I think he told him like that you just preach about Krishna and chant Hare Krishna, and things will not disturb you. So in this verse, the word Mahodaya Dayat indicates that by the blessings of a great soul, one becomes materially opulent. But when one gives up attachment to material wealth, that should be considered an even greater blessing from the great souls. So generally we think if I become rich, then that is Krishna's blessing. But Prabhupada is saying here that if you become poor and you give up the attachment, or even if you are rich but your attachment goes, right? So that should be the favor of. Don't you think that this is the favor of the great souls? That should be considered an even. It's a great. That is also a blessing that you get good things, like good in the sense that yeah, we want money and everything, we become materially opulent. But great souls, when they bless, also the attachment goes away. So that is also.
Somebody came to Prabhupada, right, and said, please give me your blessing. And said, if I give you blessing, then you will become like them. He pointed to his disciples, Shikha and the Brahmachari clothes.
Yeah. Correct. So it's also like Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. People were coming to him for materialistic blessings. So he didn't like it. So he just sat near the toilet and he started chanting there near the toilet so that nobody would come because of the smell. Yeah, so, but we all have material desires. So anyway, we can approach Krishna, even if your material desires are kama sarva kama va moksha kama udarati tibrenam. We should do intense bhakti to the Lord. And by that intense bhakti, what will happen? Our material desires may just go away. And you feel disturbed only till you have material desires which are not fulfilled. But if the material desire only goes away, then you will not feel disturbed. Like if I have a desire to become very rich and like very famous, then I'll be disturbed as long as those things don't happen. But if the desire only goes away, then you are not disturbed. So that's what happens. It was not a very easy task for the king to give up his opulent kingdom and young faithful wife, but it was certainly a great blessing of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that he could give up the attachment and go out to the forest without being seen by anyone. And Krishna puts one in a helpless situation, like Narad Muni. Narad Muni, in his previous life, he was the son of a maid servant, right? And his mother died when he was very young, and he had nobody to look after him, basically. So Krishna gives that situation so that, of course, he will not give to everyone like that, because he knows if he does too much extreme, then we may just lose our faith. So he will give according to the patient the medicine. And he may sometimes fulfill our desire also. So we should not think that Krishna only. He will fulfill desires also. Krishna can fulfill. And in that way, he makes us come closer to him because we feel grateful to the Lord. Oh, Krishna, you fulfill my desire. So, but if he thinks that we are going to get carried away, then he may not fulfill. By this, then our chanting will suffer, our sadhana will suffer. But then, you know, he gives also. So, and then we have to go through some difficulty and then again come back to Krishna. So there are many instances of great souls living home in this way in the dead of night, giving up attachment for home, wife, and money. Sometimes they will go to like places, holy places, and nobody will know where that person has gone. And then somebody will report, oh, that person, he was living in the holy place, your family member, now he died in that holy place. Somehow the news may reach. And Prabhupada says that is a glorious death, like that. Of course, if family is devoted, it's different thing. Then it's nice also. When it was understood that the king had indifferently left home. But generally what happens, we'll think, oh, what will happen to my son? What will happen to my daughter after I leave? You know, who will take care of them? What will happen? And then we die with these thoughts. But everybody, the world is not depending on me, that without me nobody will survive. Right? People are living. Dhruva Maharaja gave an example. He says in newspaper we often read, such and such has died and is survived by his 2 daughters and a son. So they are living. But we are thinking in our excessive attachment that without me, nobody can live like that. So that same thing happened with Sridhar Swami. Sridhar Swami saw a little baby lizard being born and he was thinking, who will provide? And suddenly an insect came in front of the lizard and the baby lizard ate that insect. So there is arrangement for everybody. We are not feeding the elephants and everybody but Krishna is providing for them. Prabhupada would say like, who is feeding all these elephants in the jungles of Africa? They eat a ton of food. And who is giving? Krishna is giving. So will Krishna not provide for his devotee? He would say like that. If Krishna is giving all the animals and they are eating also, we are not providing them food. So they are surviving. So Krishna will not provide for his devotee. And Krishna says, yes, ananya chintayanto mam ye jana pariyupasate tesham nitya bhiyuktanam yogakshema vahamiham. Krishna will give. So, like that. So when it was understood that the king had indifferently...
I was also remembering, it's talked about about Bharat Maharaj also. He left his kingdom. And beautiful wife and children, just as one gives up stool after evacuating. But as we know that he gave up these attachments, but he formed another attachment with the deer. So we are supposed to not be alone, but in the association of pure devotees, as we are talking about leaving home, right? Being engaged all the time in the association of devotees. And attachment to devotees opens the doors to liberation.
Yeah. So that's why Prabhupada created this International Society for Krishna Consciousness and like that. So one can live in a temple or close to a temple and be engaged in services. Of course, the problem is that sometimes people don't have enough money. So that's why they have to keep working. Either they work because they don't have enough money, or this another thing is they don't have any other engagement. So what will they do? They think like, what will I do if I if I just retire? There is nothing for me to do. So they have enough money, but how will their time go? That's another thing. So that's why they keep working. And the third thing they work is because they have greed. There is already money and I should get more money and like that and like that. So there is different scenarios, but for one who knows the goal of life, and then so they will. Of course, money is not bad if you use it for Krishna's service. So, and temple is a place where one's necessities can be met, and if you serve Krishna, Prabhupada created a situation like that. You don't have to worry about. Of course, we may say now so many things are there, insurance and this and that. How will, if I fall sick, and how will I get, But there is in this country, at least, there is many ways to, like our devotees here in the temple, they went through all the hospitalization with childbirth and everything, and it's not like the temple paid the money for that, but there is some arrangement. So, okay, Krishna will take care. That's the. When it was understood that the king had indifferently left home, all the citizens, priests, ministers, friends, and people in general were greatly aggrieved. Everybody was pained. They began to search for him all over the world, just as a less experienced mystic searches out the super soul within himself. So they thought our king has left, he was such a nice king, and they went to search everywhere, but could not find him. The example of searching for the super soul within the heart by the less intelligent mystics is very instructive. The absolute truth is understood in three different features, namely impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such Kuyogina or less intelligent mystics can by mental speculation reach the point of impersonal Brahman, but they cannot find the super soul who is sitting within every living entity. When the king left, it was certain that he was staying somewhere else, but because the citizens did not know how to find them, they were frustrated, like the less intelligent mystics. Okay. Any comments? We can continue. Okay, there's only last verse. We'll just read this. When the citizens could not find any trace of the king after searching for him everywhere, they were very disappointed. And they returned to the city, where all the great sages of the country assembled because of the king's absence. So without a ruler or somebody to guide and run the affairs, it was an emergency situation. All the sages came there. With tears in their eyes, the citizens offered respectful obeisances and informed the sages in full detail that they were unable to find the king anywhere. Okay, so there's told sages, yes, our efforts were not fruitful. So the story of King Vena. So now Anga is gone. Vena is the successor to the throne. So we'll see what happens next. Okay. Any comments you'd like to say? Anything you want to say, read, or share?
I can sing a song.
Okay.
So we have heard this from Deenabandhu Prabhu, this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. सुंदर बाला शचित लाला नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में भाले चंदन तिलक मनोहर अलक शोभे कपोलन में सुंदर बाला शचित लाला नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में शीरे चूड़ा दर्शी बाले वन फूल माला हिया पर डोले पहिरन पीत पीतांबर शोभे नूपुर रुण झुन चरणों में सुंदर बाला शचि दुलाला नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में राधा कृष्णा एक तनु है निधुवन माझे बंशी बजाए विश्वरूप की प्रभु जी साही, आओ त प्रकट ही नदिया में। सुंदर बाला शची दुलाला, नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में। कोई गायत है राधा कृष्ण नाम, कोई गायत है हरि गुण गान। मंगल तान मृदंग रसाला, बाजत है कोई रंगण में। सुंदर बाला शची दुलाला, नाचत श्री हरि कीर्तन में। Translation: This gorgeous boy is the darling child of Mother Sachi, dancing in the kirtan of chanting Lord Hari's names. His forehead is adorned with drawings of sandalwood paste, and his enchanting locks of hair are shining in a splendorous fashion as they bounce upon his cheeks. His hair is wrapped in a top knot, and a garland of forest flowers sways upon his chest. Wearing brilliant yellow silken garments, he dances with ankle bells tinkling upon his feet. Shri Radha and Krishna have become joined in one body, and together they play a flute within the grove of Nidhuvan. In this mood, the Lord of Vishwarup has come and manifested himself in the town of Nadia. Someone in that kirtan sings the name of Radha and Krishna, someone else sings songs of Lord Hari's transcendental qualities, while others play the auspicious rhythms of the sweet and relishable mridanga drums. All this takes place in that spectacular performance. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as soon as somebody starts, he would cry and cry, but when people would chant Hare Krishna, then he will smile and he will dance, as he wants everybody to chant Hare Krishna. And that was one of his ways.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This is like Nimai, right? It's a small, gorgeous boy, means he's not describing the adult Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but
Yeah, small boy.
Sachi Dulal. Okay. So he has a knotted mat, like his hairs are matted, and there's a knot on his head, and with the hair, like how the sages have, and there is a forest flower garland upon his chest, ankle bells on his feet. So we can visualize this picture of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's this picture is there in Chaitanya Bhagavat and the front cover. I paste this.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, he has garland, matted hair, knotted, then silken dhoti, and ankle bells on his feet.
Krishna would also start dancing when the gopis would say, "We'll give you a laddu, you dance for us."
The one who makes everybody dance is dancing to the tune of gopis.
Good.
So that is the beauty of God. Pritya Vashyata or Bhaktavatsal.
Yeah. I'm going to paste two verses from the Canto 10. It says, the gopis would say, "If you dance, my dear Krishna, then I shall give you half a sweetmeat." By saying these words or by clapping their hands, all the gopis encouraged Krishna in different ways. At such times, although he was supremely powerful personality of Godhead, he would smile and dance according to their desire, as if he were a wooden doll in their hands. Sometimes he would sing very loudly at their bidding. In this way, Krishna came completely under the control of the gopis. Sometimes Mother Yashoda and her gopi friends would tell Krishna, bring this article or bring that article. Sometimes they would order him to bring a wooden plank, wooden shoes, or wooden measuring pot, and Krishna, when thus ordered by the mothers, would try to bring them. Sometimes, however, as if unable to raise these things, he would touch them and stand there, just to invite the pleasure of his relatives. He would strike his body with his arms to show that he had sufficient strength. And after this, there is that verse which is talking about Bhrita Vashita. Here I pasted the link. Darshayamastadvidam loka atmano bhritya vasyatam rajsayo vaha vaiharsham bhagavan balachestite. To pure devotees throughout the world who could understand his activities, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna exhibited how much he can be subdued by his devotees, his servants. In this way, he increased the pleasure of Brajvasis by his childhood activities. Yeah. Bhrita Vashita.
Yeah, he's like the order carrier. He's become like a servant. Like we tell, okay, bring this, bring that. He's like an order carrier. Or do this. So Arjuna is saying, Krishna, take my chariot between the two armies. And Krishna is obliging. So, like that. Yeah.
And Satyabhama is saying, get me a parajata tree. And he goes, he's a hand-packed husband. And Rukmini is writing the letter, come quickly, and he runs from the battlefield.
Good examples, yeah. So he's very eager to serve his devotees. He likes to be the servant of his devotees. Pure devotees, Krishna. So that's who's God, who's everybody is a servant, but this God has this nature. So which is very endearing to his devotees. Of course, they don't know in Yoga Maya, they don't know. Krishna is God. And Krishna would struggle to bring the wooden plank or the shoes, and it would bring them so much joy. He would like try to lift it, and then sometimes, however, as if unable to raise these things, he would touch them and stand there, perplexed that how will I take this? I am not able to lift this. And everybody would see how Krishna is.
And then he would strike his arms as if he's a Pahalwan. Show that I have a lot of strength.
And then he would lift it and bring it. Krishna knows how to, he also forgets he's the God at that time. So, okay. So it's 8 o'clock. Let's stop here.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.